Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Chistian Finnegan here. When is the what's the comedy club you're at?
I'm at the Tampa Improv.
Tampa Improv.
Ybor City, baby.
Absolutely, Tampa. Another one of those great comedy towns where people go to the shows in flip flops and the Bermuda shorts and everything, and everybody has money, and you don't know why they have money in a jacuzzi. And
it is strange. It's just
they want threesomes.
Yeah. Like, what do they do? Because it's like nobody does anything in Florida.
You're right. Just weird. People at Tampa, especially, they have money for some reason, and you don't know why.
Yeah.
And they have like that alligator tan skin, and they got the
luggage look.
The young wife who's obnoxious and loud and drunk, and platinum blonde hair and plastic surgery, and let's go to the hot tub with Artie. He'd love it.
Have you ever heard of Gasparilla? That's this thing they have. That's their Mardi Gras. It happens once a year. It's like
yes,
it's like a pirate town.
I have heard of it. Yeah,
but it's like Mardi Gras without any history or culture. It's just a bunch of really unattractive women showing you their boobs that you didn't ask to see. Yeah, it's like there really should be a sign outside that says your breasts must be at least this high because I saw some
Mardi Gras. If it's Tampa-fied.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that.
Like with no Creole or jazz influence.
It's just the puke and the frat boys from Tulane.
Just the long plastic yard cups and beads. That's it.
Beads with the bad breasts. Now that's something. Tampa's extraordinary like that. But again, in comedy, you get to see it all, and you're like, were you ever on stage where you thought you were in trouble because you said something that made someone mad who you were kind of afraid of in the crowd?
Well, I remember doing some joke once, and I really try my best to not ever punch down, you know.
Right, I get it.
And I'm not trying to be Mr. Politically Correct or whatever, but I just think, life is tough for certain people. And
some stuff's too easy.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember there was one joke that there was a tagline where I sort of spoke in quote unquote retard voice a little bit, or just I made some joke that implied that I was, mentally and physically disabled. And then I look down and I see someone who's been, and there's this noise from the back of the audience the whole time. And I kept asking people like, what is that? What is that? And I see that there's someone like basically in a wheelchair stretcher who can't even really focus on the stage. And that he was laughing,
right?
What his version of, and it was about halfway through
his
my set
version
that I
of
realized,
laughing.
yes, and it really, I honestly am cringing thinking about it now.
Norm Macdonald has a story where when he was in Canada, he was a young kid in the '70s, and he sat next to a retarded person, like really physically retarded, this kid, and he kept getting awful looks. The people keep giving Norm awful looks. He didn't know why. Like, what's your problem? And he realized afterwards when he got off the bus, he was wearing one of those shirts from the '70s, I'm with stupid. The shirt says, I'm with stupid, and it pointed to your friend. So it said, I'm with stupid, and it and he got a lot of dirty looks. He was like, why did you give me dirty looks? Like, oh, my God.
I was in St. Louis. I've had the best.
Stop right there.
Okay. I've had the most fun sets and the worst sets of my life in St. Louis.
I've always had a good time in St. Louis. I had one crazy thing happen there, but yeah.
But I remember once there's a Cleveland Browns bar next to the Funny Bone in St. Louis.
The one in Westport.
Yeah, Westport. Yeah.
Westport, yeah.
But I guess the owner of that bar and the club is a big Cleveland Browns fan, so that's like their big meetup.
The same phenomenon with the Pittsburgh Funny Bone. The guy is a big Browns fan.
Weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
It's funny how they all leave Cleveland.
That's true.
But anyway, this big group of dudes came in a Sunday show after the Browns were annihilated or something like that. And I happened to, this is a long time ago, I'd probably only been headlining maybe a year, and I had a joke about how I'm from Boston, but I hate the Red Sox. And all the guy heard was Boston, and then he started yelling, "You love Tom Brady! You love Tom Brady!" Like, right. And then he just, at a certain point, he was just, I don't know what I can say on this program and what I can't.
You can't curse.
Yes, but a word that rhymes with, say, blaggett. And he just kept saying it over and over again, just like, blaggett! Blaggett, blaggett, and for maybe 10 minutes, and you can't defeat confident stupidity. So like he will win that argument.
Right.
And,
it's like we get it. Oh my God.
But that's whatever. He was right. I am a little bit of a.
I was.
Blag.
I was on stage in St. Louis once at the Funny Bone, same exact Funny Bone, and I drank the whole night. I did 3 shows. It was the 3rd show, and I in some of those towns that are in New York, it's hard to get food after a certain amount of
Yeah.
time. So it was like 2 a.m. and I was still on stage. And for some reason, while I'm on stage, I'm doing the last 5 minutes of my set. I remember being a little kid and getting a White Castle hamburger from my hometown in Union, New Jersey. And on the side of it, it said all the cities White Castle was in. And I can remember for some reason being 10 years old, and one of them said St. Louis. And I remember being a little kid going, oh, maybe I'll go to St. Louis one day. And then it
Sounds so classy. It's
right,
French sounding.
exactly. It clicked in my head. So with 5 minutes left of my set, I go, hey, do you guys have a White Castle here? Chris, it was as if Springsteen went into Born to Run. In Jersey. They went, and I said to these three kids in the front, I go, will you drive me to White Castle? So they go, yeah. These three guys drove me to White Castle, and I went, and we ordered like 15 cheeseburgers. I took them up to my room, and we were like partying in the room.
That's haute cuisine in St. Louis.
I got a shake. We were at the Adams Mark Inn, a few blocks from the club, and they all left my room. The room was a mess. I woke up at like 7 in the morning. I had to catch a flight at like 8:30, and there was a big shake and just cheeseburgers on my chest.
Oh, yeah.
I had my shirt off.
Oh, that is when you start using your gut as a table. That's always when you rest the soda.
I think the guys might have put it on me because I passed out. It might have been that bad. Yeah, so look, it's fun doing the road. What can I tell you?
I've come to the conclusion that I complained about a lot, but it's not a coincidence. Like my dad was he would drive to New York State from Massachusetts every week for like 3 days. He drove about 1,000 miles a month or something.
Wow.
Why was he doing that?
Because he lived in Boston, but he worked in all over New York State doing real estate stuff. And I've come to the conclusion that he was the kind of guy who just needed his alone time. Like he needed his kind of...
A lot of men need that.
And I've realized that it's not a coincidence that I've found myself a career where I do the same thing.
A lot of men need that. No, and comedy will give you alone time, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got to take another break, and we'll finish out the hour with Chistian Finnegan. Again, Tampa Improv, August 22nd through the 25th.
Indeed, you do.
There you go. Okay, the Artie Lange Show. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Chistian Finnegan with us. Tampa Improv, August 22nd through 25th. And you got, what are specials that you've had out so far?
Well, I had a special that came out in 2009 called Au Contraire.
Right.
And that's on iTunes and all that jazz. I had just a CD that came out a couple of years before that called Two for Flinching. And,
Yeah.
The next one, I'm juggling titles. The title I wanted to go with was Double Shift at the Asbestos Factory, but I've been told by people that is too wordy and potentially confusing.
Very wordy, way too wordy.
Yeah, and perhaps a little bit dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on. You like the dark stuff.
I wanted to call it the fun part, but I didn't want then people to be like, there's nothing fun about... Do you ever, when you're trying to name something, do you ever hear the negative reviews of it, like the puns in your head?
The
fun part. When is the fun part? Because it's certainly not on this special.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. The movie I did with Norm Macdonald, Dirty Work. It was like, the only dirty work you'll encounter is watching this.
Yeah. Do you remember that old SNL Nicolas Cage sketch where they're trying to name the baby?
Oh yeah,
It's like Mr. Aswipe.
Well, the funniest thing was Ellen Cleghorn had a show called Ellen for a while after she was on SNL, and the funniest review in the New York Post, it just said Ellen. The show was Ellen with an exclamation mark after it, and the review headline just said Ellen exclamation point. Awful explanation.
I used to do a little bit of freelance magazine writing, like reviewing and stuff. And it is so much more fun to write a negative review.
Sure.
Of course, especially if you're really funny.
Yeah.
I hate when the guys are actually funny. Chistian, thanks so much for coming, man. And again, August 22nd through the 25th, Tampa Improv. Look for his new special and his other specials.
Follow me on Twitter, at Christ Finnegan.
At Christ Finnegan. Come back again.
Thanks, dude.
The Artie Lange Show. We'll be back after these words.